Imagine not being Leeds, not feeling this pain, not dancing through thunder, not walking through rain. Imagine not rising with fists in the air when the world turned its back and no one would care. We've lived in the ashes, we've drowned in defeat, but still we stand proud on our battered old feet. Imagine not loving with all that you are. Imagine not being Leeds.
We love you, Leeds, Leeds, Leeds.
We do love you, Leeds, Leeds, Leeds. How are you doing? Happy Monday. Oh my word, the day is here, Leeds v Everton. The Premier League season starts for Leeds United at Ellen Road tonight. Bring it on. Cannot wait for tonight. There'll be a vlog coming out tomorrow. But before we even get there, there's been an absolute bomber, as some people like to say. Fabrizio Romano has tweeted out that Noah Okafor is in fact going to be a Leeds United player. The here we go, the seal of approval. When Fabrizio reports it's never 100% accurate, but it's pretty much there, isn't it? So yeah, I'm buzzing for that. He's reported it's over 20 million euros, but there's also been a report come out as well saying it'll amount to about 17 million pounds in total, which is a decent deal for potentially that next bracket of player, that next bracket of winger that Leeds United have been after. You know, we all know about the Igor Pajau deal. This one looks like hopefully he's going to be a level above what we've already got. And if not, he's mixing it with some pretty talented wingers anyway. But that'll take us to 5 wingers, if you include Jack Harrison in the conversation. He's definitely predominantly a left winger. It's an interesting transfer, this. We know we've been linked with him for a while, in the last week or two. But he isn't a right winger. He's played there a little bit, but he's predominantly a left winger. But he's also played a lot at centre forward. So it's going to be interesting to see if this impacts our attack on getting another one. You know, Calvert DCL coming in, obviously having Pirro and Mecha. It's a decent, strong three. Couple of injury concerns, as I've mentioned a few times now. Okafor can play that striker role and play it pretty well. His actual G&A is actually better at centre forward than it is on the wing, which it probably should be, but it doesn't look out of place. He's not like a Willie Nonto, who's predominantly a winger who probably could fill in at 9, but whether he'd have, you know, that the potential to play as well there as he does on the wing, I don't know. But Noah Okafor's played really well at centre forward in the time he's played there. The only worry I have about Okafor is he's been on a steady, a slow, not a massive drop off, but a little bit of a decline over the last couple of years. Injuries haven't helped that, but he got his big move from was it RB Leipzig or RB Salzburg? I think it was Salzburg, wasn't it? Moved from there to AC Milan. Didn't quite work out for him there, but the calibre of play that he's up against for those positions, you know, it's quite deep in terms of strength there in the wing positions. At Milan, he's got Leao, who's trying to compete with, which is just easy. He's a world beater in it, so he's going to struggle to get that spot on a regular. Obviously, he has, you know, he fell out of favour towards the back end of last season and ended up at Napoli. Played 5 games for Napoli on loan. Again, they won the Scudetto, so again, hard team to break into. Didn't play many games there last season. So is it a decline playing for Milan and struggling, then going to Napoli, who obviously saw something in you and they won the league? Is that a decline, not getting many minutes in them teams? I don't know. What I'll say is you're going to get a player coming hungry to prove himself. Is he a Premier League player? I would suggest so. Whether he's a level up on, you know, Ramazani, not who I'm massive fans of, time will tell. But again, it's another decent signing, a decent price as well. You know, his market value only, 18 months ago, 2 years ago, was around 25 million euros. It seems to have got him, you know, for maybe less than 20. So it's definitely a deal that I think will please the fan base. You know, some Leeds fans will moan at anything, won't they? There'll be something to moan about, which I sort of get to a degree. You know, Pajau to Okafor, is it a bit of a drop-off? Maybe, but there isn't many Pajaus out there that will come to Leeds, you know, newly promoted side. Maybe Okafor's that next bracket up and we've got, but maybe not quite per Pajau level, but we'll soon find out. But I'm really pleased Leeds have got another winger in. there was a little worry on my part with Jack Harrison playing big minutes in pre-season, and him being integrated back into the side, that maybe the 4 wingers we've got is enough for Farke. I don't think it'll be enough potentially for Leeds fans, but for Farke, you know, obviously Harrison brings you something totally different, being the only natural left footer. Okafor again will be a right-footed winger off that left. But like I say again, it's going to be interesting to see how the dynamic works now. That'll be the wing positions boxed off. That'll probably rule out a Solomon bid later on in the window, I would assume. I've sort of always thought we may see Mano back at Leeds, but I think that rules out Mano Solomon now. Does it rule out a striker? I'd like to think not. Although I would be okay with the 3 we've got. I trust them to do well. I trust them at this level, if stay fit. But that's the big if. Do you want, you know, players that can play in different positions? Yes, but would you like Okafor to be your left wing / striker option? Probably not. So I think there's still a couple of big moves out there for Leeds. Again, it's a decent fee, so it's leaving a decent chunk of money still available for, you know, maybe a big money spent on a striker, maybe to bring 2 fullbacks in now, which would be ideal for me, rather than one that can do both. You could maybe get 2 bodies in with the money saved, maybe a 10. Do you look at a 10? You know, the Gus Hamer thing's still sort of in the ether, never sort of goes away. Do we go out there and get a 10 now with the money that we've saved on a DCL, the money we've saved on a Okafor? Is that potentially something they'll do? Also, does it leave them room and scope to leave a little bit back for January, just in case things aren't quite working out? So I don't mind it. I don't think Leeds have to spend the full 150, 160 million touted at the start of the season. I think if they're smart and they do the business right, they can get the bodies in, the quality needed to stay in the division, and also hold a little bit of that money back. So it's great news today, ahead of obviously playing Everton tonight, that Noah Okafor looks like he's going to be a Leeds United player, as we all sort of assumed and hoped over the last couple of days. It seems to have taken a bit more traction and a bit more momentum yesterday, but you never know until these things are done. The fact that we've been able to get a deal done for a player I think I would suggest what I've seen and read is probably slightly better than what we've got. There's no guarantee that he's going to be. He's got to acclimatise to a new country and stuff like that. And like I say, I thought against Leeds he played well in pre-season. Obviously we had a decent look at him before we knew we were linked with him, so I didn't pay too much attention to him, but he looked decent. And obviously he was playing against Schmidt, which I'd have looked decent playing against Schmidt, but he looked okay against Leeds. And like I say, it were always probably on the cards after that. There were rumours going around of Farke talking to him pitch side after the game when the fans had left, and it sort of picked up momentum since then. So it's nice to get a player that clearly wants to play at Leeds. Getting away from that notion now that we can't attract any decent player with Farke as a manager and being a relegation threatened side. I like to put that to bed now, and I say this sort of proves we can. But it's up to the player now. You know, he's an attractive player on the eye. When he runs with the ball, he's very direct, skillful player, likes to beat a man, got a decent shot on him, got some good numbers at certain times in his career. He's had better seasons than others. I would suggest he'll want to put last season behind him, not having the amount of minutes he would like. Hopefully the little niggles he's had of injury as well are past him, and if he turns out to be the player that he's shown in previous years, I think he's good age, he's 25, so he's not too young now, he's decent age. If he can reach that ceiling that he's been touted to have in previous years, then we've got a really good player for a really good price. I kind of feel like with Leeds, we've took a little bit of gamble on certain players this season. You know, we haven't gone all out and got a proper proven player, you know, can do it, apart from the midfield areas. I think the midfield areas, you look at that and go, they're sound. But, you know, bringing in Okafor, a little bit of a question mark. DCL, Metcha, a little bit of a question mark. Maybe Goodmanson, bit of a question mark. There's a few in there, a few little gambles where if you've got it right for the value paid, it'll be an absolute class transfer for Leeds United. And this is another one of those that's in that bracket for me. I'm fully expecting him to come and sort of set the world alight a little bit, because he's got great competition there. If he's going to play off that left, you know I'm a massive Ramazani fan. That's my big worry again now. Hopefully this is just a replacement of Jack Harrison, who maybe moves on now, because I don't see him getting more minutes if we're bringing in a left-sided player. Hopefully this doesn't deter Ramazani from really pushing the stake in the claim, because we know how good Ramazani is. This probably moves Nonto back over to the right as backup, or competition, for James. And like again, all of a sudden you're bringing Okafor and you've got great depth there at wing option. So that sort of cements that there. Midfield sorted, defence bar fullback cover is needed, and then maybe just one more striker or a 10. So I think we're doing this business well. We're holding a little bit of money for a rainy day if needed. I'm really excited for this one. Hopefully it proves to be the player that we all hope and have seen the potential in that it can be. But yeah, you will see a vlog tomorrow from me. Maybe an almost instant match reaction as well with me and Priestley tonight. We'll see how game goes, but I'll hopefully get that out before midnight. But yeah, plenty of content to come. Keep the consistency going because I fucking love doing this. And yeah, please smash a like, please subscribe, and please keep giving the love you've been giving me. Much appreciated. Marching on together. I'm a daft twat. See you on next one. Bye-bye, peeps.